We continue our quest to preview every World Cup team one a day until the World Cup actually gets here. Day 22 brings us to Japan. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to get myself in more trouble in this video than I am going to get myself in any of the videos I'm going to make. Because this Japanese team can win this World Cup. 100%. I know I'm like an 100%. I know I'm like an eternal, the flame always burns optimist when it comes to these teams. The best team that is not in South America or Europe is Japan. That is my professional, I'm addicted to international football, results-based opinion. And I think that maybe by the end of this video, you will believe it. Now, the Japanese national team is very interesting in the sense that when I started to follow this sport, I just assumed Japan had probably been playing forever like everybody else, like Korea, for example. The Korean Peninsula, whether it be South or North, has been playing the sport a lot longer, right, in an aggressive way. Japan actually has basics, right? And it is a difference between the United States and Japan, a very big one. You might not know this. It doesn't come up all that often. I have a history degree. I majored in history at the University of Virginia, got a nice big, comically large piece of paper that says I kind of know what I'm talking about some of the time when it comes to history. Right? And one of the most important, impressive things to know about Japanese culture is if you went to Japan in 1860, it was virtually medieval. Right? You're sitting there wondering, where the fuck is he going with this? Hold on. I'm going to get there. Commodore Perry, famously, a little gunboat diplomacy forced Japan to open, and the Japanese realized that being isolationist, they were going to end up way behind in technology and completely screwed. And so from mid to late 1800s to the early 1900s, the Japanese went from a basically feudal society to being able to beat a major European power in a war. When they sauced and tossed the Russian Empire in a war that stunned the entire world, when they went, wait, Japan can do that. Oh, we had no idea. How did they do that? Well, they did it by bringing in people that knew things. They brought in Prussians. If you know your history at the time, the Prussians were the best military in the world. What became Germany? Right, the northern part of what became Germany. Whatever. I don't have time to explain all of this to you. This is a World Cup preview, but worth looking into. They brought in the experts in that field. This is something that the Japanese do very, very well. They can change their whole society. They've done it multiple times in their history so quickly. And there is a deference to knowledge and basically a willingness to kind of soak this knowledge up where they go, we're not good at this. We don't know how to fight in lines with guns, to operate cannons. We don't know how to structure our new military. We're going to bring in the people that can. And by 1910, they were tossing the Russian Empire. Obviously, over the next 20 to 30 years, that escalated to ridiculous levels leading to World War II. And that's how we got the tie with the U.S. in the first place. But the United States and Japan have been working on soccer for basically the same amount of time. And I think the cultures of those two countries are reflected in that. And where this Japanese team is now is a huge reflection of that willingness in Japanese culture, which I think is honestly great. To invite, to not just accept help, but invite it. To be like, we know we don't know this. Come fucking tell us how to do it. You know how to do it. We're going to copy you. They're like a good content creator. They bring in everybody and, they can copy that person. Perfect. In the United States, it's more of this rugged individualism. It's more of a fuck you, we're going to show you how to do it. And that's where you get a lot of the U.S. players are more physical based, right? They emphasize physicality and winning, and there isn't really this technical development where the Japanese national team could not be more different. Not that they're not physical, but that there is such an emphasis on developing players in the same way you develop players in the very best countries in the world, which is a focus on technique, a focus on process. And they have brought in some sensational minds and sensational of others that is shown again and again over history. And in soccer, it is the latest example. And so now not only is the Japanese league really good, and producing, quality players that are able to go and play around the rest of the world. The actual national team, which was called up literally today, reflects the incredible improvement of Japan, who 25 years ago would have barely had a single player playing in a major European league. Let me just read you the players. We're going to ignore the goalkeepers for this because you got two guys from the Japanese league, and then Zion Suzuki, who I got baited by this for a little bit, is referred to as Aya Suzuka in the official release. I don't honestly know why. That is Zion Suzuki, who is the starting goalkeeper here. Right outside of that, St. Truden, Belgium, Wolfsburg, Freiburg, Real Sociedad, Mainz, Stade de Reims, Leeds, Feyenoord, Eintracht Frankfurt, Celtic, NEC Nijmegen, Crystal Palace, Genk, Liverpool, Copenhagen, Werder Bremen, Le Havre, Bayern Munich, Ajax, Feyenoord, Ajax, St. Truden, FC Tokyo. The guy playing at FC Tokyo is Yuta Nagatomo. The guy's 50 years old. He's like the spirit animal of the national team who's there. Right? That is missing. Kaoru Mitoma, how far this team has come. But let's get into the actual results. Why am I such a big believer in this? Well, in the last two World Cups, the Japanese have made it to the round of 16. In fact, in 3 of the last 4 World Cups, they have made it to the round of 16. It's actually the same record as the United States. But in these round of 16 games, Japan has been getting closer. In 2018, they needed a 94th minute heartbreaking goal to lose against Belgium. That counter-attacking goal where there just wasn't enough defenders to cover the spaces, or whatever the announcer said. In 2022, they lost on penalties. Heartbreaking penalty shootout where they were actually just, it was one of the worst penalty shootouts I've ever seen. The Japanese literally could not hit the broadside of a barn, collapsed in on themselves in that penalty shootout against Croatia like a dying star, who would then go on to beat Brazil on penalties in the next round to make their second consecutive World Cup semifinal, which for Croatia is just absolutely ridiculous. It's an amazing performance. But they have done everything but make a World Cup coordinate. That was a final for the streets. But the point being, this Japanese team is the truth. They didn't lose in their World Cup qualifying group until this was well and truly in hand. They ended up with 30 goals for and 3 against in 10 matches played. They barnstormed out of the gate so hard that when they were on 13 points, nobody else in this group was on more than 7. Right? Japan just completely flattened, in my opinion, the best qualifying group that existed in Asia, with Australia and Saudi Arabia, 2 competent, there were 3 teams in this World Cup qualifying group in Asia for 2 automatic spots that had a win at the last World Cup. Right? That is pretty savage. They have been shredding their international friendlies recently, right? Sure, they lost to the United States, but that was a rotated Japanese team. Over their last 3 friendly windows, they've drawn Paraguay, then they beat Brazil. Then they played Bolivia twice, for shits and giggles, I guess. They beat them both times. And then in their last friendly window, they made me look really smart, because I've been saying Japan is like the actual dark horse for this tournament. And they beat Scotland and England. They beat the OGs of the sport. Sure, they're not at the absolute high watermark of what those national teams can be. I mean, Scotland kind of is, but England's not. But they beat them. They outplayed them, right? Like, this is something that I can't stress to you enough. If you're an older football fan, you've been watching World Cup since the early 90s that you remember. I don't, right? I wasn't even alive then. You know what I'm talking about, that this Japanese team was nothing. It was a footballing backwater. It was way more comparable to India, China, or not even China. China was at least investing in it a little more. But there is another option. Takefusa Kubo. Kubo is like Japan's Christian Pulisic, in my opinion, where it's taken him a little while to kind of get a firm foothold as a top-level footballer in Europe, but he's always been touted as having that huge potential. He ended up at Real Madrid at one point. They loaned him out and loaned him out and loaned him out and loaned him out. And then people thought that his career might actually be cooked because he wasn't able to stick at Real Madrid. And, the loans can kind of ruin players every once in a while. But then he went to Real Sociedad. And for the last 4 years, he's been really good. He's been a really, just a really good player. And what those guys like Christian Pulisic and Takefusa Kubo do is they go through the door first. right? And once they go through the door first, they create this kind of umbrella where everybody still continues to pay attention to them as like, oh, that's the Japanese guy. Oh, that's the American guy. And then a lot more Japanese and American guys pop up all over the fucking place. But everybody's still just, in the midfield, there is somebody listed on the team that's going to be able to help out a lot. Wataru Endo. He's been struggling with injuries, but he's going to be able to get back into the team. And we can see that, a year ago when he was fit, this is a guy that anchors a midfield pairing. And he's somebody that plays at a real world-class level with Liverpool. So that's definitely somebody that they would want to, a victory on the health front, considering they've taken an L on the health front as well. The key to the defense is going to be Hiroki Ito. Right, Hiroki Ito is somebody that if you watch the Champions League, you're like, oh, this guy doesn't play for Bayern at all. But then when you actually look at when he plays, Hiroki Ito has basically been a Bundesliga monster for Bayern Munich, right? He allows the quintessential top line of Bayern Munich to play in the Champions League while being a guy that shoulders the load and plays a good number of matches in the league, particularly recently. So he's going to be in form. And in case you've been paying attention to the league this season, Bayern Munich in said league has been virtually untouchable. They have 27 wins in 33 matches. So Hiroki Ito is somebody that can play at a super high level. And there have always been certain weaknesses. Breakout. I'm going to give you one. Ayase Ueda. Okay, Ayase Ueda started one of the two games and subbed in the other in the Scotland-England tilt in March. He is the top goal scorer in the Dutch league. Right? As the time of this recording, he's got 25 goals this year for Feyenoord. Right? And there's a solid number of these players that play in the lowlands up there in Belgium and in the Netherlands. Watanabe, who seems like a lock to play on the defense. He's a guy that plays at Feyenoord as well. But Ayase Ueda is potentially the answer to the question, who's going to be the starting striker on this team, right? In any time you're the top goal scorer in a top, let's say 8 European league, you're going to have the potential to break out on this stage because Ayase Ueda has proven that, maybe the Netherlands isn't quite his level. Maybe his level is a little bit higher. So if you want a breakout offensive star, particularly with the absence of Mitoma opening up some minutes and some playing time in that front three overall where you can shift some pieces around, I would go Ayase Ueda as somebody that can blow the lid off. But Daichi Kamada, Ritsu, this team is ready. They are ready. They have gone through their paces. They have taken their lumps. They have gotten better every single World Cup. Right? The national team pool is getting better and better. They're training. And if I'm using my historical precedent, if we're going from like 1870 to 1910, right, we're closing in on that, on that gap. The Japanese started investing in the sport in like 1990. We're talking it takes the Japanese culture like 40 years to fully become just one of the best at something after, adopting like foreign practice of ways to do it. It took them 40 years back then. We're almost at 40 years from 1990 right now. Buy stock. Japan is here. They're not going away anytime soon. This team's going to keep getting better. And if it's not now, it's next time. Okay. They're really, really good. This whole group is good and it's going to be a lot of fun, but this Japanese team's really good.
But let's look at this group. We've brought you in not to talk about Australia. Right? We've brought you in to talk about Group F of this World Cup, but particularly because of your time in Japan. Before we talk about that, Adamo, Japanese football, we talk about it time and time again. I stand by the thought that I think the first team that will win one outside of Europe and South America will be Japan. I think so. They do things incredibly, and the players that they're producing now.
Well, that's their plan as well. They have a plan. It's, I think, Project 2050. They want to win a World Cup in 24 years' time. And when you look at the players they produce, and not only the players they produce, it's systemic. It's the high school systems. It's just ingrained in their culture. It's the beautiful football they play as well. The players that they produce playing for top clubs in Europe. You just look at their last international window, playing England off the park. Yeah. And as a fellow participant in the AFC, as a proud Australian fan, you've got to be a little bit envious of them as well. It's for them to be able to say that we have a vision to win a World Cup, and their managers come out and said our goal is the quarterfinals, but I want this team to win it. It's impressive. And then when you watch them on the field as well. Yeah. Incredible.
They're brilliant. They've got a 100-year plan at the moment. They're doing a transition season as they move to align with the European season. Yeah. Dukey, you keep humbly referring to yourself as a worker, you know, and you're not talking about your technique, but to go and play in the most technical competition in Asia, though, how was that adjustment for you?
Oh, it was massive. And I think for me, it was make or break. I think it took me about 6 weeks, honestly, when I first arrived to adjust.
Yeah.
Just the technical aspect, they were just another level. And I was already quite raw when I first came onto the scene as an A-League player. First year, like my touch was nowhere near as good, my back to play and all these little things. I had the energy, I had the physicality, had speed as well. But the way the Japanese played it, and when I first went to Shimizu S-Pulse, I was chasing shadows.
Yeah.
And I was like, then I kind of had to adjust. So what was funny is that I've gone there as an attacker. And for me to basically survive, I had to really adjust and kind of like change positions, basically. I went there and ended up playing wingback for the first 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So I've gone there as an attacker.
Yeah.
I kind of realized that I just wasn't anywhere near as good as the stocks that they already had. So they had like a really good Nigerian striker, Peter Otaka, and a really good Japanese striker in Genki Amai. And I just knew I wasn't going to play there, but they loved my attributes anyway. So they're like, we want to play you, but we don't think you're anywhere near good enough for now at this position with the players that we have. But we'd love to still have you on the pitch because you can still be a presence and all this kind of stuff. So for me, it was probably the best situation because I learned to survive, not just survive, get better and improve and keep up with the Japanese style of play. And that took my game to another level. And thankfully, I kind of found my feet through the years and got myself back to being a striker again with learning from the best in Asia. Like
awesome.
The Japanese technical players are just insane. Like, and you see it, which is crazy. 17-year-olds that come through and they're like university students or high school students and doing that transition into the J-League teams. And then they've already still got like better technique than me, better touch, like unbelievable. And I'm just, damn, like I wish I kind of had this.
Yeah.
And it's just quite eye-opening compared to like what I guess you're used to in the A-League. And the systems that they have in place in the build-up to that as well is just next level. And there's no surprises of what I've seen recently with how well they've done as a nation in the national team. And, you know, in their last, like, you know, they beat Brazil 3-2, which is crazy. Just to think about that. And then, of course, England and Scotland recently. And yeah, like that's just a feat in itself, I think. And for me, even in the last World Cup with some of the teams they beat and the country, like the countries they beat, it's just world beaters and they're beating them.
Well,
so,
they topped a group with Spain and Germany in it and then went out on penalties to Croatia. Let's have a look at the last 5 matches for Japan as they head into this. 5 wins. They beat Brazil 3-2, like you mentioned. They beat Ghana 2-0. They beat Bolivia 3-0. They beat Scotland 1-0. They beat England 1-0. Yes, they're all wins, but there's a trend there that you traditionally wouldn't think. It's 0-0-0-0. Defensively, they've come a long way, Adama, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. And that's, I think, a credit to their manager as well, Moriyasu. It's such a cool story. He's been there. He took the Olympic team as well, and he's seen this era, this generation of players trickle through from the Olympics team to this first team as well. And you saw it in the England game. I think that's the perfect description of how they can play. They can play defensive when they need to. They sit back and then they're so rapid on the counter attack. They're so good with the ball at their feet, like Juki just said as well. The biggest compliment to, I think, Japan is if I say Japanese player, you know exactly what type of player I'm talking about. I think that's the biggest compliment. If I say, oh, this guy's a Japanese player, you know exactly. He's technically super gifted. They're fit.
Disciplined.
And that's this team. There's the thing for them at World Cups has been getting over that hurdle. They've been so close. That round of 16's been that bogey mark for them. The game against Belgium in 2018, they were 2-0 up. They lose 3-2. Game against Croatia, that Vidakovic was incredible. They were peppering him. They lose on a penalty shootout. So for them, if they are to achieve that goal, that Project 2050, it's getting over that hurdle. And if they can, have you seen the caliber of teams that they're beating as well? England, Brazil, scary.
Yeah.
Really is. Honestly, like I have big expectations for them in this coming World Cup for sure.
They can go far.
I think so. I think it's like they're kind of due that. Like you said, even like in their previous results and some certain moments, even like I'm not sure how far back it was, that game against Belgium where they were 2-0 up.
Yeah.
But then they ended up losing. Yeah, it was 2018, wasn't it? Yeah. And they ended up losing 3-2.
Yeah, it's just like there's that last thing missing.
And like Belgium in that time was like,
Golden
obviously, like they were so close, like and they've always been so close. But what you're seeing now, also, I think with that trend of like the clean sheets.
Yeah.
And now I've played against the Japanese national team a few times now, doing a few different campaigns for qualifiers and seeing that as well. I think I noticed that the most in the last game we played, not just in Perth, where we won 1-0, which was well played by us. But when we played them in Saitama Stadium.
The 1-1 draw.
The 1-1 draw with the 2 own goals. But I noticed that with their defenders, the physical capabilities that they have now And I had like similar situations of like what I felt even with that France national team, where I was coming up against players like Watanabe and like his jumping ability and aerial duels, and like I couldn't get an edge on some of them. And the way you try and hold up play, but then they wrap their legs around, it's like they're so hard and they're so like elastic, and
so their physicality is underrated as well.
Their physicality is definitely underrated because you can get lost in how well they play with the ball, like their technicality and all that kind of stuff is unbelievable. But yeah, the physicality now, and of course with the defensive structures that they have now in place and keeping these clean sheets against world beaters as well, like obviously not against Brazil, but like England, for instance, who on paper, like a lot of people say this is like probably the best national team that they have.
At Wembley too. Like to go
at
there
Wembley
and
as
do
well,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's massive. And Ito, of course, Bayern Munich defender, doesn't get a lot of game time at the moment for Bayern.
No.
In their last squad, they had 8 Bundesliga players in it. There's this real influx through Germany, but you got some in the Premier League. And of course, the man who scored that winner against England, Matoma, has been a standout for Brighton ever since he arrived in the Prem. Fair few have graced Liverpool recently with, of course.
And what's so impressive in that England game, his players were out too. Take Kubo didn't play.
Kubo didn't
Wataru
play.
Endo didn't play. Minamino, of course, he will miss the World Cup. He's injured as well. So they did that. Missing stars.
Yeah.
Ueda, he plays up front for them. He plays for Feyenoord. He replaced, well, he was there once, but since Santi Jimenez left, he's now become a goal machine for them. He was their top goal scorer in qualifying as well, but also for Clubland. So this, every part of the field, they're scary. And hearing stories like that of Juki as well, they're physical as well. So maybe that could have been a game plan in the past, teams thinking that they could bully them.
No.
England couldn't. Brazil
100%,
couldn't.
100%. And that's what you see as well. I think with the Japanese players now that are scattered through Europe, they're not just also just playing regular minutes. They're like shining. They're making noise, like with Ueda, like at Feyenoord. He's killing it. Like he's scoring goals for fun.
Yeah, he's a machine.
Like it's just, and they're like, that's what I mean. They're not just playing minutes. I think we can kind of like, as Australians right now, we're happy with just Aussies playing regular minutes.
Yeah.
And that's like the difference where we want to get to being like, not just playing minutes, where we
Being
want like the Nesta and, Toure. We want them like, and we need more players like that making those kind of impacts in Europe and making that kind of noise, because the more people killing it in those leagues, the better we're going to get for it.
Absolutely. Well, their manager, Moriyasu, has done a brilliant job. Fun fact about him, his son, you know who his son played for?
Played in the
Edgeworth Eagles.
in the Northern NPL. Yeah.
No way. Oh, I mean, I didn't know that.
His son played for Edgeworth
wild.
Eagles in the Northern NPL.
そして個人的に一番恐ろしいと思うのは、日本には黄金世代が一度きりでは終わらないということです。今の日本代表は、単なる偶然や一時的なブームで強くなったわけではありません。学び、吸収し、改善し続ける、その積み重ねを30年以上続けてきた結果なんです。かつてはサッカー後進国と呼ばれていた日本が、今ではブラジルやイングランドを倒す存在になった。これはもう奇跡ではありません。必然です。そして正直に言うと、私は日本がいつかワールドカップを優勝すると本気で思っています。それが今回なのか、次回なのかはわかりません。でも、この成長速度を見れば、世界が日本をダークホースではなく、本物の優勝候補として認める日は必ず来るでしょう。皆さんはどう思いますか？日本代表は将来、ワールドカップを優勝できると思いますか？ぜひコメントで意見を聞かせてください。